What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the dinner table. Per usual, I hope everybody had a good week and y'all are ready to get into this week's case. Y'all, I had the worst time trying to figure out what case to do this week. And it has a lot to do with me following all these true crime podcasters on Instagram. So I'm constantly seeing all these crazy stories that they're putting out. And I'm like, okay, dang, I gotta find something like that. I gotta find something that is fresh and nobody has really heard about before. Yes, I know I should probably stop thinking like that because I'm doing a lot of overthinking. But whatever. I'll get there, okay? I'm working on it. So after searching far and wide, high and low, deep on the dark murder web, I think I found the case. So I brought it up to my sister and she had never heard about it either. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is new to both of us. Let's do it. So I have my fingers crossed and I'm hoping and praying that none of my cousins at the dinner table right now have heard the case before. And if y'all have, it's okay at this point. Sit on down, get comfortable, get your wine, popcorn, whatever you need, and let's do this.
That's what it's all about. Guns and butter, baby.
So this week at the dinner table, I'm going to be telling you guys about the murder of 16-year-old Latania Janell Carwell. Latanya was born April 17, 2001, to her mother, Tanya Tripp, and I couldn't find much about her father, but everybody called her Janelle, so that's what we're going to call her today. She was raised in Augusta, Georgia, and she was described as being an overall good kid. She was loving, kind of quiet, intelligent, and pretty mature for her age. And she even found time to be an honor student at Josie High School, receiving multiple honor awards. But she was a hardworking little young lady, and she did whatever she could to keep her grades up, because even at the age of 16, she seen herself being a doctor when she grew up. So she was just, getting good study habits at a young age. And at only a sophomore in high school on April 16th, 2017, which just so happened to be Easter Sunday, Janelle and her family attended church service that morning, like most families do on Easter Sunday, and afterwards they went back to Janelle's family's home to have a little cookout, small little family function. Now this cookout wasn't just to celebrate Easter. It was also to celebrate Janelle's sweet 16, because her birthday was the following day on April 17th. So according to her mother Tanya, once church was over, the family went shopping for some meat to put on the grill, and of course they got a birthday cake for Janelle. But after some time of being outside helping with the food, Tanya says she ended up leaving the barbecue festivities and going inside to rest. She went on to say that the smoke from the grill was making her feel a little sick. So that's when she decided to go in the house, and that was around 1:30 a.m. So now the next day was Janelle's official birthday. So she says while she's inside laying down resting, she recalls her husband Leon Tripp coming up to her and asking if he could use her cell phone. So she says she asked her husband why he needed to use her phone. And that's when Leon told her he needed to go help a friend who he only referred to by his first name. He says that this friend was having car trouble in Clarks Hill, South Carolina. Now, Clarks Hill was only about 30 minutes away from Augusta, which is where they currently were, which wasn't too far. So she agreed to let Leon take her phone with him because she knew he didn't have maps or any type of navigation on the type of phone that he had. So she says she gave him her phone, and she rolled back over. And the last thing she remembers hearing is him cranking the truck up and then the back door slamming. So after that, she supposedly goes back to sleep. But after being asleep for some time, not long at all, her younger daughter comes and wakes her up and tells her that Janelle was gone. So she says she calls Leon, and that's when he told her that he ended up taking Janelle with him so that she can help him with the GPS because he wasn't that good with technology. So more time and more hours went by throughout the day, and Tanya realized that Leon and Janelle still hadn't made it back home, and that's when she really started to grow concerned. So she took these concerns to Facebook News and hopped on Facebook Live. And on Live, she talks about how after Leon and Janelle went missing, she was calling and texting both of their phones and got no response from either of them, and that's when she knew something was wrong. So because neither her husband or her 16-year-old daughter were answering any of her calls or text messages, she decides to hop off Facebook and finally call the police.
How can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. I was calling to report a missing person.
Give me 1 second.
I pray to God that they died, but it's not like them not to answer the phone.
Your husband and your daughter are missing?
Right. And that's not like neither one of them, because they see me calling, they gonna answer.
So by the time she made this phone call to the police, they had already been missing for about 24 hours now. And unlike a lot of cases that we discuss, the police actually jumped right on this case. And they put it in the media, and Tanya was the face of the media at this time. She was going through it. She was crying. She was appearing to be distraught on the local news stations, asking the public for help, and she pled that her family made it back home safely. Now, the public was concerned, and they wanted to help Tanya out as much as possible. So 2 days after the disappearances, a tipster actually contacted Tanya and her family and reported that they saw Janell walking along the side of a road in Clearwater, South Carolina at around 1:30 a.m. So WJBF News 6 reported that the individual who spotted her said that she was wearing a backpack, and they even went as far as to ask the girl if she needed a ride. But the young girl refused and said that she was meeting up with someone. So prior to her disappearance, Janell never gave any indication that anything was wrong at home or even bothering her. However, leading up to the day she went missing, her English teacher noticed that she wasn't acting like her normal self. So the English teacher comes forward and tells the public that Janell began to sit in the back of the class, which she never did, and her circle of friends began to change. Then she says that Janell told her and some other classmates that her birthday was coming up, while also mentioning that she was moving. Now, of course, she was a little bit taken aback because she had no idea that Janell was going to be moving, but no other information was given other than that. And we still don't know why Janell's behavior changed in school or what was going on at home that made Janell feel she had to tell people at school that she was going to be moving after her birthday. On April 20th, Tanya reported her white 1990 GMC Sierra pickup truck either stolen or it was missing with Janell and Leon. So 6 days after that, and now 9 days since Janell and Leon vanished, the truck was spotted abandoned by investigators on Old McDuffie Road, which was only a mile away from their home. So at this time, authorities are like, okay, we found the truck, let's look for some leads, let's look for some evidence, and let's find Leon and Janell. But according to the Richmond County Sheriff, there was no signs of a struggle or any type of DNA or any evidence to even go off of after they searched the vehicle. So at this point, everybody's trying to dig deep. They're trying to figure out, is Leon to blame? Did he do something to Janell and now he's on the run? Or did something actually happen to the both of them? Somebody tell me something. So with the help of a family friend, Pastor Hardin, Tanya hops on a Facebook Live video about 2 weeks after Janell and Leon were last seen. Again, she was asking the public for assistance in helping bring them home. And during this Facebook Live, she also went on ahead and answered a few questions that the people had about specific details about their disappearance. And I'm going to let y'all listen to a little piece of the Facebook Live. Y'all listen to this mess.
Tanya Tripp. Tanya, I know it's a little difficult, but would you just kind of share with our audience how important this is and how bad you want your baby to come home?
Yes, it's the utmost important because my daughter has never, ever been away from me this long, a period of time without no call, text, or anything. We had a cookout, and I was helping out with them with the cookout, and I do have cancer. I have brain cancer, and I have lung cancer. And I was inhaling too much of the smoke, so my husband told me to go in the house and lay down. So I did, because I couldn't breathe. And shortly after that, she was out there helping him finish cooking and what have you. They all ate and everything, but I didn't eat at that time. Later on.
So as y'all just heard, she told everybody on Facebook Live that she has brain and lung cancer. So now on top of her husband and daughter being missing, the community now finds out that she has not one type of cancer, but two. So everybody is feeling really sorry for Miss Tanya. And the community is just touched by her strength. So they begin helping the family out, putting some money together for reward money for anybody who has information on their disappearances. And I believe a good $500 was offered to the family to give to somebody who had any information about Janell and Leon's whereabouts. So during the investigation, authorities were working hard to figure out what happened to Janelle and Leon. So they were actually able to retrieve some cell tower signals that showed that Janelle and Leon were never even in Clarks Hill, South Carolina to begin with. You see, both their phones last pinged in Atlanta, which is about 140 miles away from Augusta. And they also went ahead and looked into Janelle's social media accounts, and it appeared that all of her activity stopped the morning she left with Leon. So listen to this, cousins, because this is where it starts getting good. So on May 1st, which was 14 days after Janelle and Leon were last seen, a kidnapping warrant was issued for Leon in regards to Janelle's disappearance. And y'all are probably thinking, okay, finally, now we're getting somewhere. They finally are figuring it out. Well, Leon was actually spotted not long after he left home in Augusta by a witness at a Stop and Shop grocery store in Atlanta, and Janelle was nowhere in sight. So if you're being seen and Janelle's nowhere in sight, then something's just not adding up. So they went ahead and issued a kidnapping warrant so they can track him down since they know he's still alive and well and figure out where Janelle is. And not only that, but after the initial warrant was issued, according to Sheriff Roundtree, the police received several tips that Leon had even visited family he knew in Atlanta. And this is when the story starts to get a little bit interesting, because per Tanya, we were supposed to be looking for 2 missing people, but now we know one is alive and well, and her daughter is still missing. So what's really going on? And tell us what you really know, Tanya. By this time, the community is aware that Leon is now a suspect in Janelle's disappearance and that he's alive. And everybody was just shocked to find out that her own stepdad was responsible for whatever happened to her. But nobody was more shocked and appalled than Miss Tanya. And in an interview with WJBF News 6, she says, quote, "In my heart, I feel he didn't kidnap our daughter. These kids go with their daddy all the time. So you mean to tell me every time they go somewhere with him, it's a kidnapping? Just because I didn't know at the second he left with her." End quote. Now, Tanya also stresses that Janelle was needed to help Leon with the GPS so that he can get to the location of his friend who had car trouble in South Carolina. And she didn't think there was anything unusual about the circumstances around them leaving. But everybody didn't see the situation the same way Tanya did. Not to mention, the more media time Tanya gets, the more people are starting to figure out that her story and her timeline really isn't adding up. Even her own brother Charles came forward and spoke to the local news, and he said he felt the whole situation seemed a little premeditated. He also says that if she was able to, his niece would have been home by now. But her brother wasn't the only one to notice that her story has some holes in it. And that same pastor, Pastor Harden, the same pastor who helped Tanya share her story on Facebook Live for the reward money, she also thought it was a little bit odd that a stepfather would take his 16-year-old stepdaughter out to help him with a friend's car trouble after 1:30 a.m. in the morning. And now that new bits of information were coming out about the case, the public started to speculate maybe Janelle and Leon ran off together because they were in some type of, I don't want to call it a relationship, but maybe the both of them or just Leon was doing something behind Tanya's back. However, when asked about this being a possibility, Tanya says, quote, "He married to all this prettiness and he gonna run away with our daughter? Come on now, that's just stupid." So while authorities are trying to gather up enough evidence to make an arrest on Leon, they discovered that he wasn't no stranger to the criminal system. He had a prior battery, assault, concealing of another death, and cruelty to children charges. And get this, y'all. He actually met Tanya while he was serving time for an aggravated assault and theft charge. You know, he was her little jail bae. She would answer all his calls, keep money on his books, write him letters, do all that stuff to make sure he was good while he was locked up. And she eventually became Mrs. Tripp while he was still behind bars. So she was holding him down while he was serving his 6-year sentence. But he was released in August of 2015. And of course, he moved right in with Tanya, Janelle, and her other daughter. Okay, so now we're just finding out that Tanya and Leon just got married in 2015. That's only 2 years before Janelle went missing. So this was a new marriage. This was a new stepfather-stepdaughter relationship. And I'm almost positive that Tanya forced this new marriage and this new relationship onto her daughters. But back to the story. So at this time, police continue to search the Atlanta as well as the Augusta area for Leon. But Tanya was still staying strong with her lung and her brain cancer, and she continued to show face for the cameras. And she even spoke publicly to the media saying that the sheriff's department had everything all wrong. She didn't feel her husband kidnapped her daughter, and she felt Leon was being falsely accused. So on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017, just a little over a month after Janell and Leon last left the house, Leon's raggedy ass was apprehended and arrested in Atlanta. U.S. Marshals arrested him in DeKalb County at a U-Haul facility. And guess who was right beside him? Y'all already know. His day one, his ride or die, his miss gon' hold it down, Little Miss Tanya. Yep, y'all heard me right. The same woman who been begging and pleading the public for her daughter's safe return home. She's standing right beside her husband, knowing good and well he's been alive and well this entire time. But yet her daughter is still nowhere to be found. Come here, Miss Tanya. We got some questions we need to ask you because you got some explaining to do. Nobody could believe what they were witnessing. And immediately they knew Tanya wasn't telling the truth from the jump. And this whole case had been one big misleading lie. And when confronted about this, Tanya claimed that she just so happened to be traveling, and it was by coincidence that she spotted her husband on the side of the road. Like, girl, come on over here. Get your ass arrested because fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, you ain't gonna fool me no more. Shoot. So they were both arrested, and of course, Leon denied having any involvement in regards to Janell's disappearance. He told authorities that he and Janell had actually gone to Atlanta, not Clark's Hill, the morning they left their home. But his story just had too many inconsistencies, just like Tanya's. So he goes on to say that at some point during their ride, he gave Janell some money so that she can catch the bus back home to Augusta, and he hadn't heard from her since. Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense, Leon. So at this time, authorities went ahead and took a closer look back at Tanya's initial call when she reached out to 911. And they started to piece her story together. But they suggested that she knew all along that Leon was never going to return back with 16-year-old Janell. So the police ended up learning that Tanya and Leon had been secretly living in an abandoned house together. They lying asses had been squatting in Oakland City, which was within a mile from the many locations Leon had been spotted, including the Stop and Shop grocery store. So this indicated to investigators that Tanya made up the entire story. And I'm pretty sure y'all figured it out by now, but Leon never had a friend who was having car trouble the morning Janell went missing. And then to cap off all the lies, they figure out that Tanya never had brain or lung cancer. So these folks came up with this whole elaborate, calculated plan to get rid of Janell, and we still have no idea where she is. But in the meantime, 38-year-old Leon was charged with kidnapping, and 35-year-old Tanya was charged with hindering the apprehension of a criminal. And while in custody being held without bond, Leon's story starts to change a little bit. So according to the prosecution, Leon provided them with a statement saying that his stepdaughter Janell was no longer alive, but he never provided authorities with the location of where her remains were. But 8 weeks into the search, her case officially became a homicide, which was announced by the police in June of 2017. And the district attorney, Natalie Payne, wanted to bring additional charges to the couple, but Tanya continued to maintain her innocence. And even though Leon had allegedly made a statement about Janell not being alive anymore, Tanya just stuck to her initial story, and it was what it was. So her bond was set for $500,000, and the search for Janell continued. So at this time, everybody pretty much prepared themselves to be on the lookout for human remains and not to be finding Janell alive. And the community continued to work with law enforcement, searching in creeks, woods, rivers, anywhere where human remains might be discarded. And searches were being conducted daily. The police were going door to door looking for answers, and the community continued to hold prayers and vigils in honor of Janell's memory. But it wasn't until March 8th, 2018, when a homeowner in Augusta discovered what appeared to be human remains in a shallow grave in the backyard of a vacant residence on Golden Camp Road. And to make finding these bones even worse, they find that the limbs were also being bound. And after being collected and analyzed by investigators, dental records were able to confirm 4 days later that the remains were that of 16-year-old Latania Janell Carwell. So her remains were found in a little under a year after she went missing. So at this time, they were looking at nothing but bones, and they weren't able to tell what her official cause of death was. So at this time, the DA was finally able to add on those additional charges. So Leon was charged with first-degree murder, cruelty to children for causing pain and binding the limbs, death by unknown means, and they went ahead and tacked on a couple of other charges as well. And as far as Tanya went, in addition to her original charges of hindering the apprehension of a criminal, she was now being charged with second-degree murder and concealing of a death. And at this time, those additional charges that they were both facing were malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, first-degree cruelty to children, and concealing the death of another. But the both of them pled not guilty. Hey, I guess they felt like they had a fighting chance to not get life. But before the trial could officially start, it took a standstill for 2 whole years. There was a lot of back and forth between the defense lawyers and the prosecutors. But in June of 2020, prosecutors filed a motion to introduce new evidence of more crimes. So this new evidence states that Leon and Tanya reportedly solicited someone, or in other words, they hired a hitman to get rid of their 16-year-old daughter. And it wasn't just this one time. They tried on 3 separate occasions before she actually went missing in April of 2017. So the prosecutor says that the couple attempted to do this in September and December of 2015, and then again in October of 2016. So with this new evidence, the trial was set to start on Monday, March 25th of this year. But it's on hold yet again. Now it's on hold because the Augusta District Attorney's Office appealed a recent decision to exclude certain evidence from the trial. Now this evidence that the judge ordered to be excluded from the trial were some statements made by Leon. And of course we don't know what they are because they are excluded from the trial for one, and for two, because the trial hasn't even happened yet. Also scheduled on March 25th of this year was Leon and Tanya's bond hearings, which were both denied. So as I just mentioned, the trial hasn't happened yet. So as of right now, there is no outcome. There's no verdict, and we have no idea what evidence the DA is going to bring forward in this case. So I'm definitely going to have to keep y'all posted on what happens during the trial. And unfortunately, because Tanya and Leon did such a good job covering up Janell's murder, that's all I have for y'all this week. But y'all, I just want to know why. What's the why? Now, I don't know about y'all, but I just have this strong feeling that Leon was a pedophile. And I think Tanya knew who he really was, too. But in order to keep her man happy, she was basically pimping her daughter out to him. Now, this is me just thinking aloud. So I'm thinking Janell probably got pregnant by Leon, and they didn't want it to come out that the baby was Leon's, so they decided to get rid of her. But I think in order to keep the pregnancy a secret, they were lying to her, telling her that they were going to be sending her away. And that's why she went to school and told everybody that she was going to be moving. And that's what I think happened. I don't know, y'all. Tell me what y'all think. I want y'all's feedback. Let me know what you think happened to Janell. But that's all I have for y'all this week. I hope y'all enjoyed the case, and I'll be sure to keep y'all posted on what happens during the trial. But as usual, I'll see y'all back here same place, same time next week.